Hi everybody, can you hear me? Vivian and Dinesh? Hello. Hi Abhishek. Can you hear me? I'm just doing an audio check. Hi Karan, good evening. Am I audible? I just want to do an audio check. Thank you. Okay, thanks Vivian. Hi Kishore. Anybody from the last time? Hi Shivani. Kishore, this is a program on public speaking in general, and today's thing is about how to face interviews, both for college students who are going for a campus interview for the first time, and for others who want to, who are probably already working and are changing jobs. हिंदी में बताइए. ये पब्लिक स्पीकिंग कोर्स है जिसमें हम बताएंगे आप जो है पहले इंटरव्यू को जाएंगे तो क्या बोलना चाहिए, कैसे बिहेव करना चाहिए, और अगर आप अभी काम करते हैं और काम बदलने चाहते हैं तो उसके लिए क्या करना चाहिए. आप किधर से बोल रहे हैं किशोर? Hi Ria, good evening. Give last time I think, am I right? Yes, I remember the name. Hi Tarun, good evening. There's a Tarun from CTM. No, Vivian, this is not only for freshers. It's for people who have a couple of years experience and want to change jobs also. Can you also address how to stand out on LinkedIn? I will do that, but you need some experience for that. All All right, it's 7 o'clock on the dot. So we're going to start today's session. I'd like to say good evening to all those who are here and welcome to this session on mastering public speaking. And especially, we're going to talk today about acing public interviews. So, personal interviews are something that people dread because they say, "Oh my God, what will I say? Will I make a mistake? Will I have, will people reject me only because of my accent, my lack of English, or whatever it is?" Do not worry about those things. What I'm going to cover today is what are the different kinds of interviews that there are. So, if you're a fresher who's just out of college, you will have what is called a campus placement, or you can apply directly for jobs. And the personal interviews will be of two kinds. You may have a single individual interviewing you, or you may have a panel of people. Now, for example, if you're going in for the IITs or any of those places, you will have straight out of school interviews, personal interviews for any of these. So, how do you tackle those? That's what we're going to cover. So, the first thing you have to remember is you will be sent a call letter, and the people will decide. They will call you to be at a specific place on a specific date for a personal interview. So please get yourself ready for that. Ensure that all your material is gathered together. See, when you're going for a personal interview, there are a lot of papers that you have to carry with you. These are your school's leaving certificates. If I'm going to do this level by level. So if you're going for an interview straight after school for your IITs and other undergraduate things, carry your school certificates, carry your mark certificates, carry everything that has your identity proof in terms of Aadhaar or any of those things. Make sure that all these are put it into a file and gathered together so they're easy to look at. Don't have them all stuffed into one file and loose, because when you enter the interview room, you're quite likely to drop all those and be even more nervous picking it up than you would otherwise. So, the first thing is check what are all the certificates that the institution asks for. Make sure you have all these. Sometimes you may have to get your mark sheets attested by other people, government officers. Make sure these are done. Make sure, one, that you have an adequate number of copies. Make sure you have a digital copy, and make sure that your family or other people have access to that. So when you're going for the interview, make sure about the venue, the date, the time, and where you have to go. You may have to, if it's in a place other than where you're staying, please ensure that you make adequate arrangements in terms of travel, accommodation, make sure how you get there, and make sure you arrive well in time. Now, wherever the interview is, please remember there will be all kinds of security arrangements. There will be a watchman, there will be security at the gate, and they will usually direct you to the correct place and the correct room. So make sure you go there. When you have a personal interview, so what I'm going to do now is to go into details of how do we enter a room and what do we say when we get in there. So, your name will be on a list. The receptionist or whoever it is will direct you to that particular room, and you will have to go to that room. Now remember, do not just barge into the room. Knock on the door, and then when you hear someone say come in, only then you open the door and get in. You may have been invited as part of a batch of people. So in that case, each interviewee will be called one after the other. So the first thing you have to do is knock on the door, and if someone says yes, only then you open the door and ask, "May I come in?" Make sure you don't open the door and just walk in, because the interviewer may be on a call, they may be doing, totaling all the marks or making comments about the earlier candidates. They may be attending to other work as well. So you open the door, you stand there, ask for permission, and then see, can I come in? When the interviewer says, yes, please come in, only then you come into the room. So when you come into the room, again, as I said, there are institutions which have a panel of interviewers and some that have a single interviewer candidate who will be interviewing the candidate. Ask for permission and say, may I sit down, or wait for the person to indicate that you can sit down. Pull the chair out, sit down, and put your papers on the table. I know you're feeling nervous at this stage and petrified of everything, but please swallow your nervousness and smile at everyone and wish them. Depending on the time of the interviews, there are three ways in which you can wish them. That is good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Please remember, good day is after you have finished the interview, so you do not start your conversation with good day. Instead, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening are perfectly polite ways of interviewing everyone. Now, whether the interview is in Sydney or Cincinnati, New Delhi or New York, Shillong or Shanghai, the first question you're going to be asked: tell me something about yourself. It's the first question you're going to get wherever you go. So, how do you tackle that? Your first reaction is, I have everything on the biodata. You've already had a look at my biodata. Please tell me why you want to ask me that question again. There are 2 or 3 different reasons why interviewers ask you this question. The first is, you are the only person that knows about yourself. So what the interviewer is doing is trying to make you comfortable and letting you talk a little about yourself, because you are the best person to do that. So you can tell them a little bit about, and give them your name again. And another reason for your giving your name is to let them know how the name is pronounced. Now, I have what I think is a very simple name, but you will find people calling me Naina George, all kinds of things. So when I say I'm Nina John and I have finished my +2 from this school, this is where I studied, this is what I'm doing, and this is why I have come for the interview, you need to take just about 1.5 to 2 minutes for that. That helps you settle down, and it also tells the interviewer how confident you are and how good or bad your language skills are. Now, I am assuming that most of the institutions you go to will ask you questions in English, so please be prepared to answer them. You may also do not worry about whether you have a bad accent or whether your grammar is good or bad or any of those things. The interviewer will make allowances for that. So relax. Give the answer to that question, and once you are given this answer about tell me about yourself, then the interviewer will pick on one aspect of that and ask you any more questions based on what you have just told them. So again, if you are a little nervous, a good interviewer will ask you questions about, oh, you've come from Jharkhand, how did you come, when did you come, and things like that. So that is kind of, what we call small talk, to again make you feel more at ease and make you comfortable. So then what happens is we discuss, you will have a few questions. Now, if you're going for an academic interview for a higher level of either academics or postgraduate or a doctoral level, there will be questions based on the subject. But again, if you are going now, for example, if you are a graduate who has cleared your GATE exam, then and GMAT and all of those exams, and you're going for a ZAT or any of the management fields, the personal interview will not go too deep into your particular subject, because MBA or any of these management courses require a more broad-based background. But they will give you some kind. They will ask you questions that give the interviewer some idea about your level of general knowledge, about your communication skills, about your interests, your hobbies, your background, any of those things. So these will not be very deep and probing questions. They're all things that you already know. So you just have to be, again, comfortable and answer confidently. Keep your answers crisp, keep your answers short. Do not talk for too long about yourself and all of those things. So once the interviewer has covered that, then they will decide what is the next step. If it is undergraduates or any of these people, if it is for a particular postgraduate course, you will be informed that we will let you, they will simply say, thank you so much, we will let you know when the results are out. So at that particular time, since they're interviewing so many different people, they will not be able to tell you whether you are in or not. You simply have to wait for the results and wait for your name to appear on a list. So please don't be too impatient. Once the interview is over, the interviewer will say, thank you very much. So you can go now. So then you stand up, collect all your papers, thank the interviewer. Now, if you've got the interviewer's name or the panel, the members of the panel, say thank you to each of them by name if you can. But otherwise, it doesn't matter. Just say again, good morning or good afternoon, and thank them for taking the interview, and then leave the room. So at this stage, you don't have to worry about the results and all of those things. If you are interviewing for a job, definitely the person taking the interview is going to ask you questions related to the job. If it is marketing, if it is market research, if it is anything of those, that will also be part of the thing. And the questions will be based on what you have done in your previous job, why you want to shift, and what you think your next job should cover. So here, when it is a job interview for people, you must answer questions with reference to that particular company. And please, if you are going for a company interview, please read up on that company and what it does, and have some idea of its products and services. By and large, for your interviews, be comfortable, be confident. Do not try and be over smart. And when someone asks you a question like, where do you see yourself 5 years from now? Don't say things like sitting in your chair, becoming the CEO of my own company, or all of those things. So be a little polite and be a little modest about your ambitions and how it can be done. So remember that in terms of all of these things, you will have a leeway in terms of the kinds of questions asked, and in terms of language skills. Whatever languages you know are probably an advantage. The more languages you know and the more languages you are fluent in, it's an advantage depending on the kind of company that you're and the kind of job that you're looking for. So treat these as assets rather than liabilities if you cannot speak in a particular language. So what we need to understand is, in terms of job interviews, if you're going in for a professional interview, there will be subject knowledge questions, and there may be another interview at what is called the HR level. So that will be a separate interview where they will discuss things like salary and the kind of perks and benefits that the company is offering. So each of these has a different way of approach, and each of you and you must learn how to answer these questions everywhere. A third sort of interview that we have now is the online interview. Now, again, for the online interview, please remember there are certain tips that you must have in mind if you are going in for an online interview. The first of these is whether you need to understand what is the platform on which that interview is being taken. So if it is a Zoom call, please download the Zoom app. Make sure that you're ready in time for that. So you test out whether you can whether the Zoom app is there on your mobile or your PC or your laptop or whatever it is, make sure that you are sitting in your seat much before the interview. So the same thing applies. The dress code, I would say, applies whether you are going for a physical interview or whether you're going for a virtual interview. Be neatly and formally dressed. A casual t-shirt and jeans with bathroom slippers is absolute no for any kind of an interview. So if you're wearing a t-shirt, at least make sure it's a collared t-shirt and a neat, clean one. Make sure if you can wear formal pants, shoes, all of those will also help. Then, uh, even if it's a Zoom interview, make sure that you're fully dressed. Don't try all these tricks of, oh, I will wear, um, Anand Mahindra says he wears a shirt and a lungi kind of thing. So it doesn't matter because at the Zoom interview, nobody can see what you're wearing below the table and stuff like that. Basically, if you're fully dressed, you are confident about what you are saying and you can focus on the interviewer and their questions. Otherwise, at the back of your mind is like, oh my God, suppose someone opens, and all of us have, different situations at home. Suddenly the door opens, uh, your mother wants to take something from the room, or you want to say you, and the doorbell rings, you have to open the door for somebody. These are situations that happen everywhere for Zoom interviews, and it is terrible when you are seen with only your shirt and boxer shorts, or a salwar, a very nice salwar kameez, and the bottom is like totally mismatched or totally different. So make sure that you are fully dressed even for a Zoom online interview. Make sure you are fully, in fact, like I tell people, don't even forget the deodorants, so that you're really sure that if it was a physical interview, you'd be fully prepared. And even if it's an online interview, you can do that. So for Zoom, you have to take a couple of precautions. One is, make sure you're in a room with minimum disturbance and where you're not going to be distracted during the meeting. Make sure the door is closed. Make sure you have a background which is not distracting. If you have a green screen and you have all of those things, that's nice. So make sure that you have a virtual background or something that's neat, and this applies to those who are already tech savvy. So that's there. But otherwise, for Google and other things, you will have Google Meet, and all of those platforms will just, you know, everything can be is visible the way it is. So make sure you're in a neat place. Make sure that your background is not too cluttered. You don't have a line with clothes hanging somewhere, and a bed that's not made properly. All of those things. Make sure that your background is as neat as you are. And when you are answering questions, each time the interviewer will ask you questions, and then you have to answer according to those. So those are the things that I would like you all to remember as far as the three kinds of interviews are concerned. One, a personal interview; two, a panel interview; and the third is, of course, the online interview. So now what I will do is I will leave the floor open for questions, and we are asking you what are the kind of questions you would like to ask. I think online interviews I already answered. Any other questions you have, please feel free to ask. And while you're thinking of the questions, one of the things that I would like to mention is that whatever happens, be calm, polite, and civil, and do not argue with the interviewer, even if they say the earth is flat or round or whatever. Sometimes they do that as a stress interview, just to see if people will do that or not. Whether they'll react angrily or lose their cool, so to speak. So, uh, any tips on the cover letter? Yes, your cover letter should very clearly indicate which position you are applying for, why you think you're applying for this particular position in this particular company, and why you think you're suited for the job. And it should also carry your biodata as an attachment. The biodata should have your name and contact details right on top, so that for easy reference when the company wants to contact you again, they know where to contact you. So make sure that's there right on top. Cover your details of academic and other achievements. If you are already in a job, put your current job first and go backwards in chronological order so that the company knows what you're doing and what you did earlier. What are the kinds of jobs? What was the position? What was the job description? And any particular achievements that you have to talk about while you were part of that. Uh, how do you follow up after an interview? One of the things you can do is actually send a personal thank you note. So it says, thank you for having me for the interview, and I look forward to hearing from you, or something like that. Uh, you can, at the interview itself, sometimes you can ask, do I have any idea of when I can hear something from you? The interviewer may or may not tell you that. It really depends on the company and what its policies are. And again, please remember that if a company says no to you after the interview, it is not a personal rejection. It is based on what the company number of vacancies they have, the kind of people and organizational culture they already have, and what they're actually looking for. So that is how the company will decide. So at that particular time, they may not look at you as a candidate, and you may not be the right fit for that particular organization. So don't worry about it. Look for a job that hopefully marries your passion and your interests and your academic work, and you can work on that together. To stand out on LinkedIn, you have to have your biodata, so to speak. You have to have your achievements. You need to have, if you can have a video, 1 minute video of yourself, that would be nice. Uh, but the more junior you are, the less you will have on LinkedIn. So please keep it again short and to the point. Um, when interviewing someone, what info can you get that is not on the resume? Of course, there's a lot of information that you can get that is not on the resume. For example, they may have a gap in the school education itself, or they may have switched several schools, and you can ask why they switched so many schools. So if their parent has a transferable job, that is one thing. Sometimes there may be an illness in the family that may have done these kind of made them shift. So how does that help in for your particular job is the question. Uh, for example, a stress test company might ask for that. For example, a BPO where you have to answer questions. You know, like your Vodafone or Airtel, or all of these help desks have people to ask, where you can ring up and ask questions, and sometimes you may be a very very angry client, so you may be shouting at the person, but the BPO employee has to keep their cool, answer your questions politely, see if they can solve your problem or send you on to the next thing. So overall, they have to stay cool and take it as a professional attack, so to speak, and not a personal attack, and make sure that they are able to answer questions quietly, civilly, and resolve the issue where possible, or make sure that it's resolved within a couple of days. So a stress test would be designed to see when do you lose your cool and do you get provoked very easily or not. If you haven't given notice but are doing an interview and they ask, have you left, what you say? Say that, look, I am looking for interviews, and be frank. One major tip that I would like to give you: do not lie on your resume, please, and do not fake degrees or all of those things. IT companies actually have an HR person devoted to checking out fake resumes, fake degrees, fake credentials. So make sure that everything you have is verifiable and that you can always back it up. The same thing applies for now, for example, if you in college, if you've done a project and you are saying that you were the team leader for that project and all of those things, remember you will be asked questions on that project and you had better be able to answer them and tell the interviewer what the project was, how you all did it together, whether you were really the team leader or just somebody else did all the work while you sat around. These are things that are very easy for the interviewer to make out, so please make sure you know what you are talking about. Somebody wants to ask about Devjani. You want to ask about public speaking, please? Sure. Yes, Devjani. What would you like to ask about public speaking? Or Srishti, something about questions? When applying to a new role different from the current one, how do we make the resume such that we can get the interview call? That's a question from Vandan. Okay, remember one thing. Whatever you're doing in your current job, you are learning skills that can actually be applied to the next job. So, what are the skills and competencies you have in this particular job that would help you get into the sometimes a totally different industry? Because this is what people are looking for. I want to change my career, I want to change my role, I want to do all of these things. But what can I say that will help me do that? So, are you a good team player? Have you done something that outstanding in your particular organization that you feel you're currently a team player but you think you can be a team leader, or you want to be in this other industry? For example, you want to shift from telecommunications to a retail industry, or from retail to something else, hospitality. So what have you learned in the hospitality industry that will make you a good retail executive? Or how do you think you can deal with situations in that new industry, and what are the strengths and weaknesses you can bring to that? And remember, no matter which organization you belong to, no matter which industry you belong to, good communication skills are the most portable skill sets that you can have. Because if you can speak well, if you can handle people well, if you're good at negotiations, if you're good at conflict resolution, which means settling arguments between your team members or other people, all of these are universally applicable. It's just a question of how do we do that. My son is 10 years old. Can he join in Toastmasters? Please give me some suggestions. I want to join him in public speaking course. Okay, Devjani, we have something called a Gavel Club. Okay. So, can you tell me which place you are? That I can help you. You're in Noida. Okay. So, what I would request you to do is go to www. Go to www.toastmasters.org. There is a drop down menu for find a club near you. There are plenty of Toastmasters clubs in Noida. There are two things. There are some clubs which run what are called youth leadership programs for college students or young children. And depending on the club, you can find out whether they're doing that or not. So this is a short 8-week program that will help children with their communication skills. I'm sure you can find one for the summer. And the other thing is, if they have a Gavel club, they can continue practicing these Gavel clubs across the country if you want. So that is also there. Right. Maybe can I give my own Gmail address? Is that all right? because I can even direct you to Gavel clubs. We have most of the Gavel clubs are here in. We have in Chennai are all online, so you can join online from anywhere in the world and join the online clubs in Chennai. Uttar Pradesh diploma in elementary education is my education sector. Please tell me what kind of course I choose. Education is a fantastic field because today we need so many more teachers, educators, coaches, facilitators at every level. So, if you're interested, I would suggest you go in for a bachelor's in education or any of these things which will help you teach. And today there's so much going on. There's a lot of courses that you can do online also, which will help you supplement whatever you're learning in terms of the college certificate. And these will help you be a better teacher at either school or other levels. Depending on your subject, there may be other qualifications to teach, so you may require not only a B.Ed but also a master's in education and a doctorate in your particular subject. These requirements vary from university to university, so you have to find out in your case which the nearest university or wherever you want to apply, what are their requirements, or if it's a school, what are their requirements in terms of teaching, and then do that. Okay, so what is this? Right. So I think they've given my LinkedIn profile. Otherwise, it will say. This is my email ID. So what you can do is drop me a line, and I will direct you to either a Chennai club or other clubs for public speaking. Not a problem at all. Yes. All right. Any other questions with reference to interviews? One of the things, as I said, make sure you've read up about the company and make sure you have some questions to ask about the company as well. How to negotiate salary and when to bring it up. I would suggest don't bring up salary at the first interview itself. Check out the company, see what it's like. One of the things you can do in terms of research is also find out from your friends, or there's a company called, I think, Glassdoor, which gives comparative salaries. So try and find out what the current market salary is. And usually, if there is a separate HR department, they will be handling the salary and other negotiations. So negotiations you should base on whether you feel you are worth a higher salary or not. And that you can do probably at the second or third level interview, not at the very first interview. That's what I would recommend. So unless they ask you at the first interview itself, what do you think you should get? Then you can say, as per company policies, as one very diplomatic answer you can give. Sorry. Or you can say, this is my friend and this is what he is getting at such and such a place, and I would think that I would like a similar salary. Yes? Okay, any other questions? So anything to do with interviews, anything to, or you have with reference to your interviews, with reference to explaining your biodata, please make sure, as I said, I will repeat this again, make sure your biodata is current, make sure it, and the other thing is, sorry, a lot of people might ask you for references of people. In that case, do not ask for references from your relatives. Ask for references from people who know you personally, either your college, or if you've been working somewhere, maybe your client or any of those people who can actually, or since you can't ask your boss for a reference when you go for another interview at the first place, so make sure you get this from somewhere else. But somebody who knows your work and is not directly related to you is a much better option. they might ask you and please tell those people, get their permission before you give their names and phone numbers as reference, and inform that, I mean, ask them, is it okay if I use your name as reference? And then during the interview, sometimes they might ask you who are the people you have given and why have you given these names. So again, make sure these are people who know you and will talk on your behalf and give you a good reference. Yes. So, any other questions? So, in summary, make sure you are prepared for your interviews. Make sure. What is Toastmasters? Actually, Toastmasters is an organization for it's a, non-profit voluntary organization for public speaking and leadership. We have 42,000 clubs across, more than that, clubs across the world. We have several clubs in India, and depending on where you are, you can just go to www.toastmasters.org, find a club near you, and you can then get into any of these clubs. You can, most of them are online, so you can start by attending online, but a lot have started physical meetings, so you can go for physical meetings in a locality near you also. Yeah, one sec. And then how to propose for the role change within your current organization, overseeing, considering you have skills for that role. I would suggest the best person for this is probably your current boss, and you can ask them, and depending on the organization, some organizations advertise what they call lateral movement. So whatever vacancies are there, they will put it onto the notice board or whatever, and ensure that all employees know about it. So if you feel that you have the skills for a job, for a lateral move within your company, or maybe in another department or whatever, talk to your boss and discuss with them, or if you have someone who's a senior mentor kind of a person, discuss with them whether you think this is a good idea, and then apply. Absolutely not a problem. Oh, Toastmasters is not free. We have an annual subscription, which can, depending on where the company, where the club meets, because it's a voluntary organization. So we have to hire a venue and pay for snacks and all of those things. So we have an annual subscription that can be between 5,000, around 5,000 rupees, 5 to 10,000 rupees, depending on the club and the city and where they're meeting and all of those things. So each of them is quite different. Yes. Any other questions? So if there are no other questions, then we can wind up for today. I'd say thank you very much to all of you for attending. Sorry. How to ask for referral from boss. That really depends on your boss and the kind of relationship you have. If you have a really good boss who's a kind of mentor and is interested in your welfare, a good boss will actually groom you for a better position, and a good boss will also tell you when whether there is a good position or not, and may actually recommend you for that. So I can't say anything because these are very, very individual situations, and there are bosses who sabotage your career, there are bosses who encourage your career. So it's an individual thing. So if you feel, if this particular person has recommended you, asking for a referral is not a problem at all. So that is the thing. Okay, couple of minutes for any further questions. Right. I hope this session has been useful for you to learn about interviews where you have both personal interviews and if you have a panel interview, asking questions, answering questions, making sure that they kind of, you stick to your biodata, you stick to your subject, you stick to what is there, be kind and comfortable, and all of these. So, grooming leadership skills, you have to take up projects within the organization. You have a joint Toastmasters, you'll get a lot of opportunities for leadership also. And these are very useful for your professional life. So, I think I will. Any other questions? Please just send them to my Gmail or my LinkedIn, and I will take them. So, thank you everyone for a wonderful session. I hope it's been useful, and I hope we can look forward to more sessions. Thank you to Creator Club, and thank to each of you for all these questions and the interest you have shown. Thank you, and good night. Thanks, everyone. Good night.